Well, come to Oprah Winfrey Goat, ladies and gentlemen, respect yourself and walk away. Your peace is priceless. Don't trade it for approval. There comes a point in life where you wake up and realize your peace is not up for negotiation. It doesn't have a price tag. You cannot barter it in exchange for someone else's acceptance. The moment you hand over your peace in hopes of fitting into places you were never meant to be, is the moment you start shrinking your soul. And the truth is, your soul was never designed to be small. We've all done it, bitten our tongues, smiled when we wanted to scream, stayed when we wanted to run, all because we feared being misunderstood, unloved, or abandoned. But what if the fear of being unloved is exactly what's keeping you from experiencing real soul, deep peace? What if approval from the wrong people is the greatest obstacle between you and the peace you deserve? Peace is not loud. It doesn't beg or scream or force its way in. It quietly whispers, "This space is safe." Peace is the warmth in your chest when you know you did the right thing for your spirit. And too often, we trade that for approval that fades the moment we no longer serve someone else's comfort. That kind of approval is fleeting, conditional, and exhausting. You don't need to earn peace. You return to it, you choose it, you protect it like a sacred flame. You decide that no matter what storm is raging around you, you will not be pulled into chaos. And that decision, my love, is a radical act of self-respect. The world might try to convince you that you're selfish for choosing peace, that you're too sensitive, that you're overreacting. But listen closely. Those voices are the echoes of people who benefit from your silence. They're not indicators of your truth. You can be kind and still walk away. You can be loving and still say no. You can be full of grace and still honor your peace. And here's the real beauty. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't need to draft an essay on why you're choosing you. You don't need to convince anyone that you're allowed to feel what you feel. That's the thing about peace. It doesn't demand permission. It doesn't seek applause. It just is. You'll find that when you stop chasing approval, your soul starts to breathe again, the weight lifts, the constant analysis ends, and you return home to yourself. That's when you remember your peace was never lost, only buried beneath people, pleasing, and self-abandonment. The shift starts small. You pause before saying yes. You create space before reacting. You remove yourself from tables where your voice isn't valued. You begin to treat your time, your energy, your heart like the treasure it is. And in doing so, you set a new standard, not just for others, but for yourself. Because the moment you decide your peace matters more than being liked, you begin to heal. You begin to rise. You begin to lead your life instead of living in reaction to someone else's desires. You stop performing, you start living. Sometimes walking away from chaos is not about them. It's about you finally understanding that peace isn't found in noise. It's found in your boundaries, your standards. Your courage to leave anything that costs your soul too much. And the beautiful thing, once you taste real peace, you never settle for anything less. You learn that silence can be a blessing, solitude can be a sanctuary, and distance can be an act of self-love. You owe no one access to your life if their presence disrupts your calm. You're allowed to outgrow old dynamics. You're allowed to change the locks on doors that once swung open for anyone. Your peace is your sanctuary, and no one should be allowed to trample it just because they once had a key. The right people will never ask you to choose between your peace and their presence. They will walk beside you in stillness, honor your boundaries, and protect your calm like it's their own. Until then, protect your peace like it's sacred. because it is the way you let people treat you teaches them how to love you every day, in ways both spoken and unspoken. You are teaching the world how to treat you. Your boundaries are the syllabus. Your silence is a lesson. Your forgiveness, your reactions, your standards, they are all part of the classroom of your life. And when you begin to truly understand this, you stop blaming people for how they treat you and start looking inward at what you've allowed. You are not responsible for someone else's behavior, but you are responsible for what you tolerate. And that can be a hard pill to swallow, because for so long we are taught that love is sacrifice, that love means enduring, that if we're patient enough, loyal enough, quiet enough, people will change. But here's the truth: the more you accept mistreatment, the more you invite it. What you settle for becomes the blueprint. If you let someone speak to you with disrespect and say nothing, they will believe that tone is acceptable. If you let someone disappear and return when it suits them, they will believe your time is not valuable. If you give and give and give without ever requiring reciprocity, they will believe your worth is rooted only in what you can offer them. You're not doing anyone a favor by making yourself small. You're not being kind by staying silent when you're hurting. And you're not being loving by erasing your needs to preserve a relationship. The truth is, real love starts with how you love yourself. It begins in the mirror. It's in the way you speak to yourself, show up for yourself, and advocate for your soul. And when you show up for yourself fully, when you hold yourself with compassion and care, you begin to attract a new kind of energy. People who are aligned with that standard, people who don't see your strength as a threat, but as a beacon. People who don't flinch when you draw a line, but respect you more for drawing it. Setting boundaries isn't cruel, it's clarity. Saying no isn't rejection, it's self-protection. Asking for what you need isn't being needy, it's being human. And the more you practice these truths, the more you step into the role of teacher. You stop hoping someone will intuitively get it, and you start showing them what love, respect, and honor look like in your life. And not everyone will rise to meet your standard. Some will walk away. Some will call you difficult. Some will say you've changed, and they're right. You've stopped accepting crumbs and started requiring the feast your soul deserves. And not everyone is ready for that. Let them go. You see, love isn't just about how others make you feel. It's about how they treat your heart, how they respond to your vulnerability, how they react when you say, "This hurt me." Love is a verb. It's not just flowers and promises. It's consistency, safety, and being seen. And if someone is unwilling to learn how to love you, then your job is not to teach them through pain. Your job is to walk away in peace and let your absence be the final lesson. Sometimes your silence will speak louder than all the explaining you could ever do. Sometimes your leaving is the most powerful boundary you can draw. Don't wait until you're drained. Don't wait until you're questioning your worth. Don't wait until you've compromised so much that you don't recognize yourself in the mirror. The moment someone shows you that they can't hold your heart with care, believe them, and more importantly, release them. You are not too much. Your needs are not a burden. Your standards are not impossible. You are simply asking for what you are already willing to give, and there is no shame in that. There is power in it. Teach the world how to love you by refusing to accept anything less than truth, honor, and respect. Let the way you carry yourself, the way you speak your truth, the way you protect your heart, become the foundation for every relationship you allow in your life. And when you do that, When you hold your head high and walk away from anything that doesn't feel like love, you show yourself what you truly deserve. Walking away is not weakness, it's wisdom. There is a kind of strength that doesn't shout. A strength that doesn't slam doors or throw words like weapons. A strength that isn't always seen or celebrated. That strength is found in the quiet, deliberate decision to walk away. Not because you're giving up, but because you finally understand your worth doesn't live in spaces where you're only tolerated. We are raised to believe that holding on is noble, that staying, enduring, fixing, and sacrificing are the highest signs of love. But no one ever told us that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and others is to leave with your dignity intact. Walking away isn't giving up, it's growing up. It takes incredible wisdom to recognize when something is no longer serving your spirit, when the energy has shifted, when your light is being dimmed just so someone else can feel bright. It takes courage to listen to that still, small voice inside that whispers, "This is not your home anymore." We don't always walk away from bad people. Sometimes we walk away from familiar patterns, from cycles that drain us, from situations that once felt like love, but now feel like emotional labor. And that doesn't make you a coward. It makes you someone who has learned how to choose peace over pain. When you walk away from what wounds you, you're not just saving yourself, you're honoring yourself. You're telling your inner child, "I won't leave you in harm's way anymore." You're telling your future self, "I'm paving the way for something better." You're breaking the generational echo of staying where love doesn't live. You may feel guilt, that's normal. You may question your choice, that's human. But when you walk away with grace, not bitterness, you leave space for healing. And that space, that's where your real life begins. That's where clarity returns. That's where the weight lifts. There's a lie we've been fed that strength looks like endurance, but strength also looks like release. Like packing your bags and saying, "This version of me can no longer survive here." Like choosing your mental health over someone else's comfort. Like loving yourself enough to know you deserve more. And you do. You deserve relationships that nurture you, conversations that uplift you, connections that don't require you to shrink. You deserve to feel safe, heard, and cherished, not questioned, manipulated, or made to feel like you're too much for wanting basic respect. Letting go doesn't mean you're heartless. It means you've grown tired of watering dead plants, of explaining your value, of pretending everything is fine when your soul is screaming for something more. It means you've matured into someone who recognizes when staying is costing you your joy. And yes, there will be grief, because even painful things can feel like home. Even unhealthy connections can hold sweet memories. But grieving doesn't mean regretting. It means you loved deeply enough to feel it all, and now you're strong enough to release it. You don't need anyone's permission to leave what no longer fits your future. You don't need a dramatic ending to validate your choice. You can leave quietly, peacefully, gracefully, and still reclaim your power. The world may not understand, but your soul will. And one day you'll look back and thank yourself, not for how long you stayed, but for how boldly you left, for how bravely you chose yourself, for how beautifully you rose from what tried to break you. You'll realize walking away was never about escape. It was about becoming. So don't second guess your spirit. Don't apologize for saving your own life. Wisdom is not loud. It whispers in the quiet moments. You've done all you could, now go. Trust that, honor that. Because the journey to peace always begins with one courageous step away from what no longer belongs. Don't beg for love. Stand in your worth. There is something sacred about knowing your worth. not in a loud, boastful way, but in a quiet, unshakable knowing that you are enough, just as you are. And when that knowing settles into your bones, begging becomes impossible. You stop reaching for crumbs and start expecting the feast your soul deserves. You stop chasing people who don't see you and instead begin to stand in the full light of your truth. Begging for love is a learned behavior. It begins in childhood when affection is inconsistent, when love is performance-based, or when attention must be earned. It teaches you that love is a transaction. That if you say the right thing, behave the right way, give enough, shrink enough, maybe, just maybe, they'll choose you. But real love doesn't work like that. Real love doesn't need to be begged for. You were not born to grovel for attention. You were not created to beg someone to stay, to convince them of your worth, or to barter your soul for their affection. You are love, you are light, you are worthy, not because someone says so, but because you are. And when you realize that, you stop bending just to be seen. The one who truly loves you won't need to be reminded of your value. They won't disappear when you need them. They won't treat your vulnerability like weakness. They won't make you question whether you're lovable, because love that is real, love that is aligned with your spirit, won't require begging. It will simply be, and here's the truth most don't want to face. If you have to beg for it, it's not love. It may be attachment, it may be longing, it may be a trauma bond wrapped in emotional highs and lows, but it's not love. Love doesn't leave you anxious, it leaves you anchored, it doesn't confuse you. It comforts you. Standing in your worth means walking away from anything that makes you beg. It means looking in the mirror and saying, I will no longer plead for love that was never meant for me. It means choosing dignity over desperation, silence over self-betrayal, truth over temporary validation, and this decision doesn't come easy. You'll wrestle with it, you'll miss them, you'll wonder if you're asking for too much, but the moment you shift from please love me to I love me, everything begins to change. You attract different people, different energy, a different reality altogether. When you beg, you operate from scarcity. But when you stand, you declare abundance. You show the universe that you are ready to receive only what aligns with your highest self. And you stop settling for half-hearted love that leaves your spirit starving. There will be people who try to come back once they feel your absence. Don't confuse their return with love. Sometimes people come back because they miss the access they had to your energy. They miss the way you made them feel, but missing you is not the same as valuing you. You don't need someone to see your worth for it to be real. You don't need a relationship to prove you're lovable. You don't need to lower your standards to keep someone who never planned to rise. Let them go, let it fall, and let yourself rise. Standing in your worth means you set the tone for every relationship in your life. It means you stop auditioning, you stop bending, you stop explaining, and you start embodying the love you've always searched for, because the love you give yourself will teach others how to treat you. And when you do this, when you stand in your truth without apology, you begin to feel whole, you begin to feel grounded. You begin to realize that the love you once begged for pales in comparison to the peace that comes from choosing yourself. Again and again, let silence speak. When your heart has said enough, there comes a moment, soft, quiet, but undeniable, when your heart lets out a silent cry that only you can hear. It's not loud, it doesn't announce itself, but it's there, a heaviness in your chest, a knot in your throat, a quiet ache in your spirit. That moment, my love, is your soul telling you that it's had enough. That no more words, no more explanations, no more pleading will change what's already been revealed. You don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to explain yourself over and over to people who have already decided not to understand you. You don't have to beg someone to care, to stay, to change. When your heart has said enough, silence becomes your greatest act of power. It is not weakness. It is not surrender. It is a boundary. We're taught to keep talking, to justify, to fix, to rescue, to over-explain our pain in hopes that someone might finally get it. But not everyone wants to understand. Some people hear your silence and still refuse to listen. That's when you learn that words are wasted on the unwilling. Silence, though, silence is pure, it's clear, it speaks louder than 1,000 arguments. It says, I'm done participating in conversations where my voice is not valued. It says, I no longer need you to see my pain for it to be valid. It says, this is the end, and I don't need a debate to honor that. And when you embrace silence, you begin to hear yourself again. Beneath all the noise, all the chaos, all the trying, you find your own voice waiting patiently. Not the voice that performs, not the voice that pleads, the voice that knows, the voice that's been whispering, you don't belong here anymore. You can say more with stillness than with 100 apologies. You can say more by leaving the room than staying to fight, because sometimes your peace is the loudest protest. Sometimes your absence is the clearest message. Sometimes your silence is the only truth that cannot be twisted. There is dignity in walking away without drama. There is beauty in not reacting. There is strength in letting someone wonder why you stopped explaining. Because the truth is, when someone values you, you don't need to raise your voice to be heard. And when they don't, no amount of words will ever be enough. It may feel unfamiliar at first. It may feel cold, even cruel. But what's more cruel, continuing to pour your soul into empty vessels. Or finally giving yourself the grace to sit in peace without justifying your choice to protect your heart. Let your silence say, I deserve better. Let your silence say, I will no longer chase clarity in places that only give confusion. Let your silence say, I have nothing left to prove. Because once you get quiet, you begin to hear the truth that's been buried beneath all the noise. You are allowed to walk away from what wounds you. You don't owe responses to people who misuse your presence. You don't owe second chances to people who used your first one to hurt you. You don't owe explanations for choosing your sanity, your softness, your stillness. You owe yourself your peace. When your heart has said enough, believe it. It knows what your mind tries to deny. It knows the cost of staying in spaces where you are invisible. And it knows how to guide you back to yourself. If only you would get quiet enough to listen. So let your silence be your power. Let it be your shield. Let it be the turning point where you stop fighting for what keeps breaking you. Let it be the moment you reclaim your energy and say, without words, I'm done. And in that stillness, watch your healing begin. Watch your spirit rise. Watch everything you thought you needed fall away, and everything you truly deserve come toward you. Not because you begged, but because you finally made space for what's meant for you.